And welcome to another episode of 50 Shades of Grey, where I'm very pleased to be joined today by Lara Eyre from Mafs 2002. Is that right,
That's
Lara?
correct. Yep.
22, not 2002. Geez, that'd be a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Like you've really aged me. Look, I was already the oldest person on the show, so let's like not do that.
So you was 22, so what was that? 2 years ago, the season, 2 years ago?
Yeah, but it doesn't seem that long. And I think if you talk to anybody who's been on Mafs, it's like you can't seem to get away from it. It's always so prevalent in your life after you come off. I think we all still talk about how weird it is that people still recognize you and people still talk to you about it. It's a thing that stays, it sticks.
So first of all, where are you from? Because obviously you've got an accent. So where's the accent from?
Well, I'm originally from Canada, but I've lived all over the world. My parents are from Birmingham, but they didn't want me to talk like that, so they moved me away. But I live in Nottingham, and I've been here, unfortunately, for 16 years.
Unfortunately,
I don't like
Nottingham's nice.
Nottingham. No, it's not. It's not.
Is it not?
I'm
I
sure
thought
they
it
said,
was like what
someone told me Notting Hill.
they sold you a place. You just watched the film and then you thought, I'd love to live there. It looks perfect.
The cute little markets, the little bookstores, Hugh Grant milling about. No, it's not like that at
You're,
all.
you're Robin Hood country. It's got to be beautiful up there.
I suppose it is if you're up in the woods, but I'm in the city centre and it's pretty rank.
Oh dear. So you're obviously you're a big Maths fan. So was this like were you a Maths fan before the show then?
Oh yeah,
Before
I
you
mean
actually did your show?
that's why I applied. I was an avid watcher of the UK and the Australian edition, and I've been single for 10 years, and I was I'm going to say probably finishing a whole bottle of wine at the time I applied, but it came up at the end of the show and it said, would you like to apply for Maths? And I thought, why not? I mean, nothing I had done had worked. I dated the same guy constantly over and over again. I was in one toxic relationship after another, which is why I stopped dating altogether. And I was thinking, if these people can scientifically match me, then it takes me out of the equation altogether. Maybe this is the answer. And I know everyone says, "Oh, but you go on TV." But I honestly, if they'd said to me, "Look, we don't want you for the TV one, but we'll still match you," I still would have done it.
So what was your whole experience? How was that in terms of not the program so much, but actually someone else making those decisions for you? So you're just walking down and you see this guy, and that was your person for the next however long it was. How was that for you?
Well, I know a lot of people were terrified, and I don't know if it's stupidity on my part or just the fact that I don't think things through. Blame the ADD. But I I wasn't, I mean, I was nervous a bit in the car, but I really wasn't nervous before we got to the wedding day. I was just excited. And I was so sure. I mean, I was so sure this was going to be my guy. Because of my age, I didn't ask for anything with looks because, I was like, well, he's probably going to be bald and he might be a little overweight because they're probably going to match me with somebody in my 50s. So I was trying not to put any pressure on that instant attraction where I think people go really wrong in this show. They think if there's not that spark when they initially see that person, or they're not thinking I want to rip their pants off, then it's not going to work. And I had none of that. I was like, whoever turns around, that's going to be the person for me, and we're going to get to know each other. And once we get to know each other, the chemistry will be there, and it's going to be a great match.
See, I think I would be the opposite. I would be what you'd see you can't do. I'd want to be someone to turn around and think, I just want to rip their clothes off.
But this
I
is where you
need
go wrong. You see, and this is what we have these, and especially in this year, it's like these
No,
people come on and they say,
it's not.
"Oh no, she's not my type," and then they want to run, and then that's not the point of the experiment, is it?
No, it's not the only place I go wrong though. So don't worry. There's plenty of places that I go wrong. That's just one of them.
One of the many. But this is the thing, because when you go on a show like this, you are matched for a long time. You take a lot of psychological tests. They ask you a load of questions with not just one person, many people. I did a Zoom call with Paul Brunson, and I applied as the show was on, so in September. And I did tests all the way through until after Christmas. So, you know, I mean, again, at the time, I thought this is how we create finding you the perfect person. And again, massive fan, love the show. Think maybe now those tests are really more to see where your weaknesses are, where your life is a little messy, a little bit of maybe where your mental instability is, so that they can make better TV with the idiot that they stick you with. So, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
because really, like this scientific way that you're talking about, really, there's two guys that are in a broom cupboard going, pick a number.
I know it seems like that sometimes. I think realistically, I think some couples are matched for that match, right? Then some couples are matched for the drama. Then there's going to be
Yeah,
the comedy couples where it's all kind of bumbles along and one guy's an idiot and and I think there's going to be also, I think Channel 4 really does try to teach us some things. I know that people are going to say pois, but I feel like there's a lot of relationships on that show that maybe you're in and you don't realize that they're bad and they're toxic. And maybe you should get out of them. And I think we get to see a lot of that as well. I mean, it's bad for the people in the show, to be used as human guinea pigs so that we can learn a lesson. But we've had a lot of toxic behavior, gaslighting, controlling behavior. And I think there's probably people out there that can relate to a lot of the relationships that are happening on the show and think, Jesus, maybe I need to run. Maybe this is me. Why I would do that, or I wouldn't do that. And I think that's the beauty of the show as well. I didn't get the guy. I got an absolute idiot. But also, they can only match you if you're honest. And I think some people want to be on the TV so bad that they will literally say anything to get there.
yeah. So, see, the relationship that you were matched with, obviously, you've got fond memories by the sounds of it, of the guy that you was the guy that you was with. So, what things ticked boxes for you that you thought, well, I can see that quality in him because, and I did want that, or was there literally zero and you were the entertainment?
I can see from what he said and what I said why they thought we might be a good match. He was like an aging rock star. Music was very important to me. I was into punk rock music. I think they thought he'd led that kind of life where he traveled with his music. I traveled modeling. I think he thought that we had lived similar lives and we wanted a real relationship. And he'd been alone for quite some time, as had I. We both had a massive dislike for Ed Sheeran. No, we
That's
literally
not
both
really.
said, I know.
That's not common ground for a relationship, surely.
No, but we both said if they played Ed Sheeran at our weddings, we would walk out and the experiment. And both said it so seriously before we'd ever met each other. And they probably thought, lock it in.
Get Ed live. Let's get Ed in live.
But the only thing I was annoyed about is I had said I'd been in very much controlling relationships before, and he was an incredibly controlling guy. And our relationship took a turn quite quickly because as he became controlling on the wedding night, and the more he did it, the less of me there was and the smaller I got, because I went back, I reverted to that person I was in past relationships where I was a little scared and I wanted it to be nice. And I kept thinking, this was matched for me. There's a reason I'm supposed to be here. Whereas, so instead of running, I doubled down and I got in harder to the relationship to the point where we had to leave because it was becoming incredibly unhealthy very quick.
In terms of when you say he became controlling, because I always wonder whether one person's controlling is someone else's comfort.
Yep, well, you're absolutely right with that. We have a really great friend, psychologist Ella McChrystal, that we do a podcast with within the Mafs show because she's a fan as well. And she was saying that you can't have a controlling relationship without a person who allows the control. So that's how people find each other, right? You've got one person who loves to control somebody and one person that's there, even though they don't like it, it also is comforting to them because that's what they know. It's like home because that's the relationship they've repeatedly been in. From the first wedding night, he was saying to me, you've already had a glass of wine, and we had champagne in the room. And he said, we don't need that. You can take that away to the production team without asking me. He didn't like women who drank. So he didn't want me to drink. Didn't like me to tell, say anything off color, not make a dirty joke or something. He didn't think that was appropriate for women. He said he wanted to unwrap me as like a present when he was ready, was things he said to me on our wedding night. There was a lot of red flags and they were coming quick. And I was like, this is nuts. And when I tried to push back, it wasn't great for me. So, it wouldn't show me how to work the remote on the television so we could watch what he watched all the time. And, it wasn't really engaging with me off camera. And then putting on a big act in front of everybody that he was super into me. And it was, it was so bizarre.
Did you find the whole psychological aspect of that kind of show? Did you find that sort of quite not alarming, but quite a shock? Because especially if you've been a fan of the show, you don't get to see behind the curtain, as it was. So did that spoil it once you was on there in a certain way for you, thinking, God, like these are the things that you don't see when you're watching?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I think it spoiled it even more for my friends and family because I'm still a fan. My whole life is doing a podcast about the show. I loved the experience of being in the show. So that didn't waver for me. I was a little disappointed that I felt less protected at first because I thought, why would you give me something hurtful when I came in here for love and I was promised that you would take care of me right that way. And I thought I was going to be given this amazing gift. So yeah, that was disappointing. But my friends and family stopped watching the show completely after I was on it because I was so broken when I came off it that they just thought it was, horseshit. But I do think, as soon as Channel 4 realized what was going on, they were incredibly supportive and kept coming to me and saying, like, are you okay? And, the problem is that when you go through 6 months of doing these tests and you finally get on the show, you don't want to leave at the first hurdle, even though the signs are all there, you keep thinking, I'll just do better. I'll be better and this will work. But then again, that's my go-to in all the bad relationships I've been in. I don't leave when I should. I stay too long. I let these things happen. I'm thankful that Channel 4 actually made us leave. So that was good. So they did take care of my welfare, but I think that maybe they were duped by this guy as well. I don't think it was 100% that they went, hey, look at this idiot. This is really going to mess her up. But then actually watching this season, we've seen some pretty aggressive, manipulative guys with some pretty vulnerable women. And you do have to ask the question, do they know this is happening? Is it just for the ratings, or are they blindsided by all these guys?
So your podcast, obviously, that you do, is it called Lara Eyre?
It's called Lara on Air. My name was made for it.
So that is all about the Mafs shows and this year's one. So how is this year's show sort of looking?
Well, I think they finally got the formula right this year. It was a bit boring some years. Then last year we had lots of fake drama that no one believed in. No one believed in the couples. By the end, you were just hoping the show would be over. It was not great. But this year we got some, I don't want to use the word normal, but average people looking for love. And so you were invested with these couples from the start. But we've had some, every episode's been great, but we've had some really bad behavior from some of the men. There was a lesbian couple. One of the women, she was quite controlling as well. We've become invested in how angry we are at some of the behavior. There's been a little bit of love as well, which is great, but so much drama, and it seems so organic this year. So I think that's something that the viewers have enjoyed because they've stopped trying to be Mafs Australia. That's different. And the Australian audience wants something different. English audience wants more real. We want the reality, we want the drama, but we have to believe it. And I think the English audience won't accept less than that.
I think it's interesting actually because the one Mafs, I don't watch the Mafs UK one at all, but I did watch the Australian one. And I think, like you say, the Australian one is different. And it's far really entertaining, but I think it's entertaining because they're Australian.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's okay to watch Australians do that, but you don't want to see English people do that. It's like,
it's weird. Yes. It's weird. And it's exactly that it's okay when they do it. And they get a bunch of, girls who just swan around in bikinis with their boobs out with these ridiculous guys with turkey teeth and tight trousers, right? Saying ridiculous things like they have no idea the camera's there from the moment they come on, right? And we love it. But when the English people try to do it, it's a little, Oh, that's a bit cringy. We don't
Yeah.
want that for our people.
So what are the ages of the couples that are going into maths now? Is that because I know sometimes I spoke to Luke, who I don't think he was on your show, Luke Wormley. I think he might have been
Next
after
year.
you or
Yeah, he was
the
the year
next
after.
year, and he still seemed very young to me to go in and to be married. But I always think like a nice age to get married is sort of late 30s. But that's from my experience, just as you grow as a person.
I completely agree with you, and this is something that Jan and I talk about on the show, is that we really think it's wrong to have the young people on this show. In your 20s, go on Love Island, right? Because, and again, we're having problems because one person's really committed and they're being stuck with another person who's too young, and then they're going, hey, but that seems like a lot of work, and I don't know if I want to be with you forever. Well, you're on a show to get married. Where did you think you were going? You need people on this show who have tried to find someone, who have had bad relationships and they still can't make it work, or they're lonely, or they don't know what they're doing. And this is a last resort to come on the show because they will put 100% in to making it work. If you bring somebody in who's been down the gym and dated one girl and it wasn't great, what is the point of that? So I think they've upped the ages for some people, but then the problem is nobody cares about what's happening to 50-year-old people. Do you know what I mean? Cut to me and Richie. We got stuck on a holiday in Germany in the Alps because nobody wanted to see him in a thong. So we didn't get the nice holiday. And if you're looking for anything coming out of this show, now not a lot of people will follow you on social media because the women in my age group probably are all on Facebook. It's
Yeah.
not big on Instagram, and they won't follow you unless they're really invested in you. So people say it, but I feel like no one really cared about Richie and I anyway because we were a little bit older. So you're right. I think getting the age right, late 30s, early 40s, that's really where you want to be in this show to make it work. 25-year-olds, no.
And the problem with that, I guess, from my experience of dating, and I'm not sure about yourself, is that it is so hit and miss when you date when you're older as well, because you know a lot more about yourself and you know a lot more about what you do, what you don't want.
I think that's more what
And
you
then
don't want.
you tend to see it a lot earlier. And I think you get better at trying to get through it because you think, well, I've made quick decisions before, but eventually you end up making the same decision. You think I should have just listened to my instincts in the first place.
Right? I mean, that's the funny thing, isn't it? Because you do that. You think, like, you go between, like, it's a seesaw of saying, I don't want to run because I think this person might be the same person I've already dated, right? When maybe I'm prejudging them. And also, I don't want to stay longer if it looks like it might be crap because I don't want to waste any more of my time in this because I'm too old, too long in the tooth to spend another month with an idiot, right? It's kind of, you're like this. And in the end, you end up in the same bloody place anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But these sort of shows, this is what they rely on is the cast effectively.
Yes.
That I think they'll always will be hit and miss. You'll get some years where everything will just click in. You'll get like the main couple, because there's always one couple that they need to be the main couple, and you'll get supporting staff. You'll get the villains and the baddies, as well. You'll get people because you need all of that to make a show, which I
Yeah.
understand.
Need
But
the
I think
cheaters.
yeah. No, you do. Yeah, you need drama where sort of the couples fancy each other's partners, and you need all of that. And I think it's very hit and miss because it's very difficult because I don't think people know themselves what they want a lot of
No.
the time.
But and also the thing is that you don't need, like last year they put on a lot of people who had really big Instagram followers to start with, and I always think that's a red flag on this show, because it means that you're coming on because you want something from this, and if you want something from it, you will create drama, you will create all these things because if you don't get the airtime, you're not coming away with it. So I like the fact that this year's cast didn't really have that, because you put a bunch of strangers in a pressure cooker with cameras 24 hours a day for a few months, locked up in a hotel. Trust me, you don't need to create any drama. They're going to make drama all by themselves.
Yeah, but I do, playing devil's advocate, I do. The bottom line is it's a business, and that you're in a business where they don't. If people find love, it's a bonus. But that's not, they're there to make a show. That's the bottom line is they're there to make a show, which I get. So getting people that have already got an Instagram following going in as a business model makes perfect sense because they're bringing an audience with them, aren't they?
But I think that those are the people that tend to worry on camera how they're coming across, good or bad, if they decide they want to be the villain or the good guy, but they've got an agenda. And the English public, especially, maybe not so in Australia, but in the English public, they can see through the bullshit. They can, right? They can see when people aren't authentic and it annoys them. And I get more messages about people acting like they're trying to get the screen time instead of there for the right reason. And so I think as much as it's good for production. I think production realizes that the numbers start to dwindle as the season goes on because people aren't invested in them. And like for me, I really just thought it was like real life, this TV program. I was the idiot who went in and was like, they kept saying everything I did was great and I believed them and all the production was my best friend and I believed that. And, and it didn't matter. They just told me what to do and I was all excited. And so it never occurred to me at all, maybe I wasn't the best person in the world and I wasn't doing the best job. So I think, maybe going in with a little bit more savvy probably is a good idea. I enjoyed every moment of being on Mafs. I thought it was an incredible opportunity and something most people will never get to do, except for the idiot I was attached to at the time of my life, the short time of my life.
So how about you now? So since Mass dating wise, what are you doing? What have you done? Have you just gone, no, I've had enough, or have you dabbled?
Well, I had enough. I think on my last episode, I did say to the experts that I was done with love, which got a massive response from the public. Like people really felt bad for me, but I was really broken by that experience. And I just thought, if I can't pick the guy for me and you guys give me the same idiot that I always keep picking, what is the point, right? Because he was literally the same idiot that I would pick. They all look different, but they all show up and they're the same person. So I was like, no. So for 2 years, I didn't date anyone, no one. I tried to go on Tinder a couple of times, but then people were like, hey, isn't that you from Married at First Sight? So there's a whole nother problem, right? Because now you've got people who maybe they're just saying, oh, I'm going to match with her so I can bang her and then go tell my mates that I had sex with this weird woman from Married at First Sight. So I came off that. And then last February, I went to visit my parents in Canada. And I was thinking, oh, a whole week with my parents, I should probably meet up with some friends. Sorry, mom and dad, just to take the pressure off. And on Facebook, I've been occasionally messaging my first boyfriend I went out with when I was 14. We've stayed in touch over the years. And we went out for a meal, and it was like that. And we've been doing a long distance relationship since February.
Oh, that's a lovely story.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I thought I could afford to move. I can't. He's just come out of a 25-year marriage and I don't think he's really ready. So we've decided to stay in a situationship for a bit, which sounds worse than it is.
Sorry, a situation. What is that? A situationship?
A situationship. Well, that's what the kids are calling it. Normally, it's like not a great thing. It's what mostly guys do to women, where they want them around for a little bit. They want to have some sex, maybe a couple of dates. And when they can't be bothered and they mostly want to go out with their friends and concentrate on their job, they kind of push them to the side, right? So it's like that you're in, but you're not in. They're not committed to you in any way, but you're like a girlfriend, but you're not their girlfriend, right? So we make a joke that we're kind of in a situationship because we meet up for a couple of weeks every 3 months or so and have this like amazing, it's like almost like having a honeymoon every time because we have these great times and lots of sex and it's fantastic. And then we fuck off again. And then we have our lives separate in separate countries where we chat online and do that kind of stuff. But we're not in each other's pockets. We don't owe each other anything. We don't committed to anything at this time. So, but we don't want to split up from each other because we enjoy the time we spend together. So my son, who's 21, said to me, I said, I'm really enjoying it. And he said, yeah, we've been trying to tell women this is the way forward for quite some time.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I do think that is because I had this conversation with a friend the other day, and we were kind of saying, I don't know how long the idea of marriage is actually going to be around for, because like the kids that I speak to coming up are like, why would you do it? Like, what's the point of it? It's like, I think relationships, for some people, I think you've got to be certain sort of characters. And I think it's the sort of characters that end up being single when in their 50s, like just independent people. Maybe this is why all their relationships haven't worked, because they need independence, but they also need the idea of love as well, and to have it there when it's accessible.
Well, here's the thing. Like when we started doing this relationship, we went through a massive bump where I got quite heartbroken because it was such a love bomb beginning. It was a fairy tale. We came back together after 32 years, and I am a massive romantic, and I thought, oh, we're going to end up moving in together and we're going to get married and this is going to be my life now. And I posted it pretty hard on Instagram. There was a news article about it. It was like this thing, and like pouring out of fans saying, oh, you finally found love. And then he was like, oh yeah, I don't know if this is going to work, and I don't think we fit into each other's lives because we're so very different, and he is quite conservative and I'm a little bonkers. And it works when we have come in for a small amount of time, but do I fit into his friends group? And he lives a very quiet life, and he's worried that I'm too big for that world. And I live here, and I dress like a weirdo, and I like all kinds of weird stuff. Well, so we had this whole thing, and I was like, oh, I've been rejected again, and this has happened to me again. And then I was like, I'm all about the reframing at the moment. And then I was like, do I want his life? Because I actually really enjoy mine, but I do also enjoy
Yeah.
spending time with him. So maybe instead of thinking it as a rejection, that I'm being rejected from this fairy tale romance that I'm clinging on to, maybe I don't even want that. Maybe I've just thought all these years that this is what I want, because I'm
Yeah.
actually quite happy in my life here. I'm quite happy. I've got my podcast and I do my Instagram stuff and I go to events and I'm enjoying that. And then when we're together, we have like the most amazing time. So why am I cutting my arm off? Because it's not everything that I was promised as a child, So, as right now, I'm thinking this might be the way forward for me, and I'm trying to be more open to thinking that maybe everything doesn't have to be as I believed it was, and maybe that's why I'm always alone, because I'm expecting too much. So, and maybe things I don't
But
really need.
I agree with you about the romantic issue, because I think we've grown up, especially sort of our age group, we've grown up on all these rom-coms and Lionel Richie songs and all these great love ballads, and it's like some of us actually believed it, and it's like you've been expecting this. Looking back over my relationships that I've had, I know I got way overexcited way too quickly in some of them, and a lot of the time to my own detriment, where it was like I'd be all in, like everything was going in for like the 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not so sure about this.
Yeah, well, and this is the thing. And I think this happens to a lot of people our age, especially people who have come out of unsatisfying marriages. And then, and then they've tried the dating world and it was a bit, ugh. And then suddenly they find this one thing and they think, oh, okay, this is the second chapter of my life. I'm supposed to have this second chapter where I've got to get all my shit together again. I've got to get it all right. And I'm going to start again and do it again, And I think we all need just to calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
Stop reverting
Yeah.
to our 18-year-old selves and going in again. Everyone just take a breath.
No, I completely agree. I found that in my 20s when I didn't think about anything at all, and you just sort of done it day to day, it was a lot easier. But I think the difference was then the field was a lot greater to choose from, whereas when you're older, it's less. So it's like
I don't
Jesus,
know
if
what
this
you're
doesn't work.
moaning about. Every guy I know your age is like just one guy and 70 desperate women. So I feel like you guys are living large on the hog. So I'm not having that, right?
No, I don't know where your maths come from. Like one to 70. Well,
The only
what's
maths
happened to
I
the
can do is
women?
wine math. So you're probably right there. But oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree. It's a learning curve for me at the moment, but I was just thinking like when I spend time with my boyfriend, I get the butterflies. I feel all the stuff. I've got all the feels, but I think though for these people I'm watching on TV at the moment, what I'm noticing is, which is weird, when they call it a situationship, these guys don't have the emotional feelings that go with the acts of these women. So why women are getting hurt is that they want to have the date nights and the sex and maybe holding hands at a farmer's market on a Saturday. And then when they want them to go away because they want their friends and their job, and that's really what's important to them, there's no emotional connection. And I think this is why women are being hurt, because they really do feel like they are inflatable dolls that are brought over for a comfort time when someone's lonely. And that's the issue. I think the intimacy has to be there, the emotional connection has to be there, even if it's not all the time.
But I do think men and women attach emotionally in completely different ways as well.
100%.
And I think that that's always sort of an issue that with guys, they just think very differently, and we've had this conversation on the
Yeah, you're
podcast.
simple people.
God, yeah, we are, yeah. We haven't come on a great deal from the prehistoric man, you know. We haven't developed, but we are. I think guys are just very simple sort of creatures and women are very complex, and they think about absolutely everything. Where a guy's goal is to think about less and less
Yeah,
as you get
just
older.
about
It's like,
enough to get through, and we don't stop.
yeah, exactly. And a guy's deep and meaningful conversation is like, so how you doing? Yeah, I'm good. That's it.
It's like, when if you send your boyfriend out to with a bunch of people and you can't go, and when they get home and you're like, so what's the drama? Who said what? What was she doing? And I heard he fell out with her, and they go, I don't know. But then they just put the
Yeah.
telly on, like all happening around them, and like the whole world they could be fighting, and the girls could be screaming at the husbands, and they come home, they got nothing, nothing. Like, oh, that's going to tell you everything. But I actually really love hanging out with guys, and women are going to hate me. I'm kind of a guy's girl. I like it just easy. I want some banter. I want a few dirty jokes. I want to drink some pint. And then I just want everyone to go away. I don't want to have to be invested. So that
Enough
works for
now.
me.
Enough now. I'm done. Yeah. Well, listen, Lara, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I'd love to actually hang out with you. We'll have to have a night out, and I'll get a couple of my friends out. They'd love to meet you as well, because
Fantastic.
I think you'd be great fun. So thank you for watching Fifty Shades of Grey. Lara, thank you for joining us. You can catch Lara on air. She's on Instagram every night, and you're on Spotify and all the usual platforms. Lara,
Everywhere
is
you
that
get
right?
everywhere you get your podcasts. I'm everywhere you go. Thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, it's great. It's been great talking to you. Guys, thank you. Make sure you subscribe below, and we'll catch up with you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Lara,